This Variety article is pretty wild. More than 450 Jewish creatives, executives, and Hollywood professionals have signed an open letter denouncing Jonathan Glazer's Zone of Interest Oscar speech. Nice, guys. Good stuff. Let's see. Deborah Messing, Tova Feldsha, executives Gary Barber, Gail Berman, Amy Pascal. Creators, Amy Sherman Palladino. Directors, Eli Roth, Rod Lurie. Producers, Lawrence Bender, Hawk Cock. What the fuck? Hawk Cock? That's crazy. Sherry Lansing. And representatives, UTA's Jake Fenton, Gersh's Jeffrey Greenberg, attorney Craig Emanuel. That was, man, the real hoi polloi, high society, real big names out here, okay? Producers you've never heard of except for the ones that happen to be bankrolling some of these movies. They are really mad at Jonathan Glazer. The Jabroni League? Yeah. A real who's who of annoying libs. Eli Roth is the only name I recognize. The group statement says, we refute our Jewishness being hijacked for the purpose of drawing a moral equivalence between a Nazi regime that sought to exterminate a race of people and an Israeli nation that seeks to avert its own extermination. Glazer declined to comment with such high-profile co-signees as Jennifer Jason Lee, La La Land producer Gary Gilbert, and the Americans creators Joe Fields and Joe Weisberg. The statement has the use of words like occupation to describe an indigenous Jewish people. You should be embarrassed to put your name on a dumbass thing like this. Yeah. Israel needs to defend itself by killing Palestinian children. Jonathan Glazer, please stop saying that is not a good defense of Israel. Killing Palestinian children is exactly how we're going to defend ourselves, and we must defend ourselves. The Lala producer guy was the one who helped screen the October 7 footage here. Eli Roth was the bear Jew in Inglourious Bastards. Yeah, that Eli Roth is the one that makes me a little sad. I hate that. The use of words like occupation describe an indigenous Jewish people defending a homeland that dates back thousands of years and has been recognized as a state by the United Nations distorts history. It gives credence to the modern blood libel that fuels a growing anti-Jewish hatred around the world in the United States and in Hollywood. They're saying it's blood libel to say that like Israel should stop killing Palestinian children. No, blood libel is a concept made up to justify atrocities committed against Jewish people. You cannot say it is blood libel when Israel as a nation state has killed a shit ton of children. That is crazy. You are undermining the severity of this accusation. You are undermining the very real hate crime of anti-Semitism by comparing it to something that is really happening. It is so shocking. Blood libel also refers to a specific myth. It pisses me off so much when they try to make it mean criticism of Israel. Yeah. Blood libel, for those of you who don't know, is the fucking antiquated now, except, rehashed regularly, antiquated conspiracy that like Jews eat children. They kill babies, they eat the blood of babies, they kill children. And it was utilized to basically justify pogroms. It is a matter of historic record. This is exactly what the early anti-Semites did in order to justify pogroms. Yeah, they killed Christians to use their blood in a ritual. That's where the blood libel comes from. Please stop comparing like a made-up conspiracy that is very damaging and has been historically damaging and has been used as a justification to kill Jews with the Israeli state, totally separate from Judaism, absolutely, okay? No matter how hard Zionists try to fucking marry the two, the Israeli state actually killing children. It's so stupid. They're bullying our boy. Critical defense for Jonathan Glazer, our big, beautiful boy, the GOAT. It's completely fucking ridiculous. Rappaport watch. We don't acknowledge the UN. Then I guess you don't acknowledge Israel either, as Israel is created by UN Resolution 181, and Israel's own Declaration of Independence refers to the UN 7 times. Have you watched Zone of Interest yet? Yes, I have still, no, I have still yet to watch it. The missive comes in response to director Jonathan Glazer's controversial acceptance speech at the Oscars. You already know what that is. I covered it a lot. Okay. Where he said that right now we stand here as men who refute their Jewishness and the Holocaust being hijacked by an occupation which has led to conflict for so many innocent people, whether the victims of October the 7th in Israel or the ongoing attack in Gaza. All the victims of this dehumanization How do we resist? After Glazer spoke, he received applause at the Dolby Theater. Some enthusiastic from Poor Things star Mark Ruffalo. Kaya, place. You're going to hurt your little elbows if you lay on the ground like that. Good girl. Good girl. Good place, Kaya. I get why they don't go out of their way to oppose the occupation. That makes sense to me. I just don't understand why they go out of their way to defend it instead of shut the fuck up. Dude. It's because the best conspiracies or the best cults have a shred of truth. And if you understand Zionism as a very real trauma response to centuries of Jewish history of pogroms and the Holocaust, it makes a little bit more sense, because that's what it is. It comes from a very real place of hurt and a very real fear that the untold, unimaginable traumas caused, the untold, unimaginable traumas that the Jewish people withstood for centuries will happen again unless Israel exists. I think that people do legitimately believe that. But this is, of course, when we talk about Jewish people and their own Zionist Jews and their perspective. And it is one that is also understandably recycled and constantly reaffirmed through social development. Obviously, Zionist Jews make up a tiny sliver of Zionism globally. Zionism globally is one that is most ardently defended by Christians. This frustrates a lot of Nazis and a lot of fucking white supremacists who act like, that's not the case, but that is objectively the case. And Indians, sure. Well, Indians go back and forth on that. Some Modi defenders on Twitter, but not necessarily. But anyway, listen. The point is this. I understand in some respects why it comes off so rabid and so cult-like, because it is. Because when there is like very real pain at the heart of this matter, very real trauma at the heart of this matter, that is how you arrive at such zealous supporters of the state of Israel, no matter how atrocious their war crimes may be. Because they've been conditioned into only seeing it in one direction, that if Israel doesn't exist in the way that it currently exists, then, if Israel's not demographic majority Jewish state, if Israel doesn't consistently keep fucking occupying Palestinians and all of the other things that you see, because you've been able to, one, shake that programming yourself. And I'm talking to the many anti-Zionist Jews in this community, right? If you can't shake that programming, you're going to be as rabid as you possibly can be when defending Israel's atrocities. There is, but it doesn't explain half of what is going on. There's also indoctrination that is steered into trauma response into a bloodthirsty one rather than one that simply wants a secure nation. And the support Israel gets from global power is kind of like your therapist giving you cocaine to fix your trauma, knowing for sure how that'll turn out. I think we all agree that Christian Zionism is the most insane one. To a certain degree, I understand why these fucking dudes are so invested in the zealotry adjacent defense of Israel's atrocities. But when you're like a fucking anti-Semite living in Dallas, going to a goddamn mega church, and you're like defending the state of Israel and like giving money every fucking month so that people can settle in the West Bank and shit, that part is like even crazier to me. Just wild. They hate brown people more than Jews. Yeah, except the hilarious part of it is a shit ton of Jews are brown. They're fucking Arab. So many goddamn Arab Jews. Bro, if you fucking placed in a lineup the normal demographic makeup of Israel, and then on the lineup you peppered in Palestinian people, you think some fucking Dallas evangelical from the megachurch is going to be able to be like, that's a Jewish person? That's an Israeli person? Fuck no. Have you seen what the average Israeli looks like? The average Israeli Jew? It's impossible to decipher. Americans think Israel white because a lot of Jewish people in America, unless you're in like fucking Los Angeles, right? A lot of Jewish people in America are Ashkenazi Jews. So they are white. But that's not what Israel looks like at all. Like, that's why it's extra funny to look at it from the lens of like American white black dynamics as well, or white non-white dynamics as well. Anyway, I grew up hella in the evangelical church and was taught that Jewish people were God's chosen and that Israel will play a huge part in the rapture. Christians are brainwashed to believe that this is a sign of the end times. Yeah. I used to say Israeli and meant white Arabs because I didn't know better. Wait, what? They have green eyes and shit? What the fuck are you talking about, dude? I think as of now, the plurality is Jews from the MENA region in Israel. If you look at the Israeli Jewish demographics beyond the Israeli nation's demographic designation, which is Jew or Arab, okay? If you actually look at the Israeli Jewish demographics, the plurality of the Israeli Jewish demographic is from the MENA region. They look identical to the fucking Palestinians. There is no way. I can't believe. I feel like we got to play the game that we play with like transvestigators. You know what I mean? Tell me if this person is Jewish or Christian or Muslim. That's the other thing. Exactly. Palestinians are also not as brown as you think. And that's the other issue too. Like people, again. So it's very, very, very stupid. Yeah, there's a hella white Arabs, white passing Arabs, and there are a shit ton of Arab Jews who are very dark. There is no leftist way to do race science, Lamau. This isn't race science. Race science making a huge comeback in 2024, apparently. No, this isn't race science at all. I'm just giving you actual, like, actual demographics. I'm not saying that there's anything, like, unique or remotely different about, like, an Arab Jew versus an Arab Christian or an Arab Muslim. So, like, my point is exactly the opposite of race science. I understand and agree with what you're saying, but there's also an Ashkenazi elite in Israeli society, and that happens to be the most visible part of Israeli politics and affects how some people in the West view the conflict. Yeah, I think like a lot of, ironically, you have one Ashkenazi guy, Benjamin Netanyahu, who's very visible in the Western world. You have some other Ashkenazi politicians who are very visible in the Western world. But like, the irony is, there are a shit ton of the most reactionary power players in Israel that are not Ashkenazi. Itamar Ben-Gvir is Arab. He's Kurd. He's from fucking Iraq, bro. You are not correct on this. Statistically, just not accurate. From the MENA region because they're born in Israel, not because they're Arab. Arab Jews are not the majority. I am 100% correct on this. You are absolutely wrong on this. The percentage of Mizrahi, and Sephardi as well, but Mizrahi specifically, Jewish people is the plurality in amongst the Jewish population. You are wrong. Mizrahi, Eastern or Oriental, Mizrahim, Eastern Jews, Mizrahiut, Easternness, refers to Jews coming from the Arab and Muslim world, including Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, Libya, Egypt, Yemen, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Iran, and Turkey. Mizrahim have been in the Middle East continuously for over 2,500 years, starting with the expulsion of Jews from Israel to Babylon. Mizrahi has been used as a derogatory term to describe non-European Jews, especially those from the Arab world, with overtones of poor education and lack of culture and economic resources. Some call themselves Mizrahim to reclaim their Middle Eastern identities and to resist European Jewish hegemony. The term Oriental, as Edward Said described in his book Orientalism, is connected to the racist categorization used by European colonizers to describe non-Europeans. Sephardi, Spanish persons, by the way, are Jews that lived in the Iberian Peninsula. A lot of the Sephardi Jews were also virtually indistinguishable from the Mizrahi Jews in the way that they look. Yeah, the 29, where is it? There's like actual deeper dive into the demographics. Here it is. 61% of Israeli Jews were full or partial Mizrahi ancestry. The Sephardim made up about 55% of Israel's Jewish population. Israel's own demographic designation of Jew versus Arab is specifically to muddy the waters. It's the same concept behind whiteness in America. In Israel, Jewish is supposed to be, because it is a Judeo-supremacist ethno-state that has an apartheid, the Jewish designation in the Israeli demographics implies closeness to power in the same way that white does in America, because it is a social construct ultimately built on top of like real ethnic categorizations. That is the only comparison you can make to like America's whiteness versus non-whiteness categorizations. So technically, while the Jewish demographics, when you look at it beyond the designation that the Israeli state applies, you come to a very different conclusion. One that I am describing to you because it's not a hypothesis. It's just a fact. It's a matter of fact. Do you think the growing anti-Zionist sentiment is putting a timer on Israel's lifespan in the next decades? We'll see. But that generational split has already happened, and I don't think we're going back on it. It would take a shit ton for, I think, the younger generation that wasn't like permanently brain broken by mainstream media and like, you know, in the words of Sam Cedar, Hebrew school, you know what I mean? Like that was completely shut out from seeing exactly what's going on in Gaza. There's no fucking way. And outside of that too, that like the Hebrew school conversation is specifically for Zionism versus anti-Zionism in the Jewish Western population versus Zionism versus anti-Zionism across the board. You're just not, you are not going to see the same level of support. I think Christianity is making it worse in the US, like the video link I showed. No, dude, Christianity is like fucking diminishing. Come on. Like religion, as science improves, and you don't need more, you don't need like some religious text to conceptualize things. As there's less and less need for something like that. Don't say not in rural America. Across the board, in rural America too. It's so ironic you're saying not in rural America. There's hella fucking rural Americans in here. How do you think that happens? I think people greatly overstate religion's impact. It's crazy. Like religion does play a big role, but if you look at all of the trends, like church attendance, religious worship, openly being religious, especially when it comes to Christianity, is literally on a downtrend. You're crazy. Anyway, a new Pew Research study finds that 80% of U.S. adults say religion's role in America is shrinking. Yeah. Anyway, it is unclear how the open letter came together. Variety spoke to several. Let's finish this article. After Glazer spoke, he received applause in the Dolby Theater, but few were willing to publicly criticize Glazer's words outside of Michael Rappaport, a signatory of the letter. That's all you need to know. And Mayim Bialik, who did so on social media, Blavatnik appeared to distance himself from the speech when his spokesperson told Variety his long-standing support of Israel is unwavering. Others previously interviewed by Variety, like directors Asif Kapadia and Jesse Peretz, expressed support for Glazer's speech as the Zone of Interest director faced condemnation from outside Hollywood. This is why I said immediately after that speech that it was a fucking very brave act. Because, let's be real, like, it is a very brave act because you will get fucking bullied and humiliated endlessly by your peers who do not have a fucking sense of shame and are not of sound mind when it comes to Israel. Even possibly being blackballed too. He said it in front of his Zionist producer too that takes balls. Yeah. It is unclear how the open letter came together. Nah, it's not that unclear. Variety spoke to several co-signees who explained why they lent their names to the statement. Among the signatories, Juliana Margulies, who apologized for her own controversial comments about black and LGBTQ supporters of Palestine. Remember that fucking freak? What was it? What was the... She said, black and LGBTQ supporters of Palestine, including the black people, have been brainwashed to hate Jews. His words sounded eerily similar to Vanessa Redgrave's infamous Zionist hoodlum speech, says Modern Family producer Ilana Wernick. Only this time, there was no Patty Chayefsky to stand up and say the right thing. Sadly, Jew hatred won the day. That's why so many of us in the industry reached out to each other. It was very sad, very scary night. Writing the letter wasn't just cathartic for us. It's something we had to do. Nuts. Also, I'm going to give another one of these Cutie Cinderella cupcakes to Kaya in a second when she wakes up. There was no concern for how Jewish people are going to react to a speech like that, to that applause, to those red pins, when not even our hostages are being mentioned, and it's just incredibly hurtful, incredibly painful, says Stranger Things and Fleabag actor Brett Gelman. It's truly baffling to me that people were choosing to be silent that night. How? What do you mean? Gelman, who's currently on a book tour, the reason why people are being silent is because, one, there are many anti-Zionists in the crowd, okay, and they don't want to be fucking bullied, and this is what happens when you don't stay silent. As a Jewish director who fucking won an Oscar for his depiction of the Holocaust. Oh my Lord. Duh. I wonder why so many people were silent. But of course, that's not what Brett's talking about. Brett being the ultra-Zionist monster that he is and an overall dumbass. Okay, he's talking about the pro-Israel people who were silent. Yeah, the pro-Israel people were silent because some of them at least had some shame and decency. Like a fraction of it. But still, a little bit of shame and a little bit of reading of the room nonetheless to not go overboard when Israel at that point had killed 25,000 women and children.
Price for the videos at thinking. If I say Israel, you gotta pay me.
What is this? There's a video that circulates that makes it seem like I'm getting paid for all my videos. It's not real. No, this is like a meme. He's making a meme, probably. It's a fake video, a bit. I don't want to give any fucking eyeballs to this. Gelman, who is currently on a book tour for his literary debut, The Terrifying Realm of Possible Nearly True Stories, has seen four stores cancel signings. According to Gelman's agent, the venue cited security concerns over pro-Palestinian protesters who have targeted Gelman for his vocal support for Israel. Others who have made Holocaust films like Jonathan Jakubowicz, who took issue with Glazer's invoking the Nazi regime mass murder of Jews in the 1940s as a parallel to Israeli war in Gaza. If Israel had existed in the 1930s and 40s. See, the difference is this, okay? Are you ready for this? If there wasn't real anti-Semitism, okay, if real anti-Semitism didn't exist, or if Jews were not marginalized, both historically and sometimes in contemporary society, we would treat everything that is going on right now with respect to like all of the American people saying like, oh, I'm being victimized because I saw a Free Palestine sign, as though, like across the board, as though they were saying, oh, the real white genocide is happening in South Africa. But because there are still very real moments of anti-Semitism, and it is a prevalent issue in the Western world in general, because it's one of the things that like very clearly indicates that you're most likely a fascist, that a lot of progressive circles give a lot of credence to it. And I still, of course, cover anti-Semitism as well. The issue is that there is valid claims of anti-Semitism, real claims of anti-Semitism, which is a devastating and very dangerous bigotry. But of course, that doesn't mean that like, saying from the river to the sea is a valid claim of anti-Semitism at all, obviously. Mr. Glazer used the memory of the victims of the gas chambers to attack those trying to rescue Holocaust survivors and their relatives from captivity and sexual slavery. It is important to call for peace, and we all do, but in this conflict, disinformation prolongs the war, and his comments unfortunately gave legitimacy to the propaganda networks interested in prolonging the war to demonize the Jewish people. The affair actor Noah Tishby, Glazer's shocking attempts to blame global issues on his Jewishness and the Holocaust reveals a significant disconnect present among those, some in Hollywood. Rabbi Marvin Heer, a two-time Oscar winner who founded the Simon Wiesenthal Center, says he was appalled not just by Glazer's words, but the reaction to them in the Dolby Theater. Is there anyone in here? Did they get any fucking quotes from someone who is an anti-Zionist Jew who thinks this letter is dog shit? What a banger of an article, man. Thank you. Thank you to Variety.com. I couldn't believe it says here, if I didn't know better, I would think that this was a Hamas rally. Where was the audience? People should have gotten up and booed because he left the Academy Awards TV audience thinking this was fine. Yeah, dude. The Academy is Hamas is the takeaway here, and is a good one. There are still many in Hollywood incapable of feeling shame. The least these people could have done is stayed silent as Israel continues its ethnic cleansing campaign, but they chose to denounce a Jewish director for speaking out. I thought your collared shirt was fake neck tattoos. Wait, really? A lot of people are saying same? What the fuck? That's funny. The co-signees of a broad swath of industry, including actors Deborah Messing, Tova Feldschuk, executives, The group statement says, we refute our Jewishness. Obama will be jealous how Biden's rivalry with his ex-boss shapes his presidency. He is so fucking petty. He's petty white, dude.